Has you ever stopped to think about all the unseen science packed into your everyday life?
It's so easy to overwork, isn't it? But the materials around us, the products we use, even, what's floating around in our environment, it's all constantly changing.
Exactly. And welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive.
They were unpacking some really fascinating insights.
Yeah, we've got a stack of sources curated for you, pulled straight from the consumers.app news aggregator for June 11th, 2025.
And our mission really is to dig into these and pull out the nuggets that matter, covering everything from packaging and chemicals to health and beauty.
Think of it as uncovering some of those hidden forces shaping, well, the stuff you buy and how it affects you.
So let's just jump right in. First up, packaging, something we all deal with constantly.
Right. This first piece is from global data via MSN.com, and it gets into textile packaging. Mm-hmm. And what's kind of surprising is how tech is making it both nicer to look at and better for the planet.
Yeah, it's not just about keeping the product safe anymore. It's also about that aesthetic appeal, especially for like luxury goods. It adds to the image.
And in today's market, where everyone's thinking about the environment.
Oh, definitely. Textile packaging has this huge advantage. It can often be reused, or it's biodegradable. It's a genuinely sustainable alternative to all that single-use plastic, sometimes using things like natural polyesters.
And here's where it gets really, really interesting: AI. Artificial intelligence is actually being woven into this whole process.
How so?
Well, AI and deep learning are helping to identify and categorize different textile materials. Makes recycling much more efficient.
Ah, okay. So it helps sort things out properly.
Exactly. They're even using specific data sets, like something called TextileNet, to train these AI systems. And it goes further optimizing the entire supply chain to make it more, circular.
That makes sense.
Well,
because recycling textiles isn't always straightforward, so these advancements are key.
Totally. Things like AI-enabled sorting systems using robotics and spectral imaging, they can classify textiles with incredible precision.
And I saw mention of digital twin systems, like virtual models.
Yeah, apparently they can use those to evaluate how efficient recycling process would be before even building it. Saves time and resources. And hyperspectral imaging, combined with deep learning, that allows for really precise fiber sorting.
So the big picture here is reducing the carbon footprint. Using reusable or biodegradable stuff powered by AI means less waste.
Right. Minimal waste, fewer resources used compared to single-use options.
Of course, there are hurdles. It's not all smooth sailing.
Like what? Cost.
Yeah, higher initial costs can be a barrier. It takes investment in R&D. And also consumer education. People need to understand the why.
And getting the whole supply chain working together, I imagine.
Collaboration is essential, definitely. But the trend is clear. Expect to see smarter, greener packaging.
So, for you listening, keep an eye out. You might start seeing more packaging that, well, feels good, looks good, and you can feel a bit less guilty about. All thanks to some clever tech working behind the scenes.
Okay, speaking of hidden things in everyday items, let's talk chemicals. The State Journal Register had a report about Illinois and forever chemicals.
Ah, PFAS, Arampicus and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Nasty stuff.
Pretty much. They're man-made, incredibly persistent. They just don't break down easily, not in the environment, not in our bodies.
And Illinois is taking a big step.
Yeah, they're planning a ban by 2032 on products where PFAS are intentionally added. It covers quite a few household items.
Why the ban now?
Well, the main driver is protecting public health and the environment. There's growing evidence linking PFAS exposure, often through contaminated drinking water, to some serious health problems.
Like what kind of problems?
Links to certain cancers, hormone disruption, liver damage, metabolic issues too.
Yeah.
Things like obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular problems, even reproductive health issues.
Wow. And where do we find these things?
They're surprisingly common. Think non-stick cookware, water-repellent clothing, stain-resistant fabrics and carpets, some cleaning products, even certain cosmetics.
So stuff we use all the time. Is anything being done to, clean it up?
There's some progress, yeah. On the removal front, particularly from drinking water, new electrochemical methods using things like ceramic carbon foam electrodes are showing promise for actually breaking down these stubborn chemicals.
That's good news. And what about the companies making them?
Well, there's increasing pressure and accountability. You saw that huge settlement with 3M, right? Over $10 billion to address claims related to water contamination.
Right, I remember that.
And environmentally, their persistence is the big issue. They accumulate, move up the food chain, disrupt ecosystems. It's a global concern.
So regulations are tightening everywhere.
Generally, yes. More regulatory scrutiny moves to phase out their use, lots of research into safer alternatives, and definitely improving water treatment techniques. It's really about understanding and tackling a hidden risk in things we used to think were perfectly safe.
Okay, so that's chemicals in the environment. But what about chemicals and our internal chemistry? There was a piece in Mint looking at low AMH levels in women in India.
Yeah, that caught my eye too. AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone, is a really important marker for women's reproductive health.
It tells you about ovarian reserve, right? Like the remaining egg supply.
Exactly. It's a key indicator doctors use when assessing fertility. Low levels can mean challenges conceiving.
And this source suggests a link to environmental factors.
It does. Specifically, it points to an association between higher urinary levels of certain chemicals, organophosphate, flame retardants, things like BDCPP and DPHP, and lower AMH levels.
Flame retardants. How would people be exposed to those?
Oh, they're used in furniture, electronics, building materials. Exposure can happen through dust, air, diet. It's quite pervasive.
So low AMH doesn't just mean trouble conceiving. It could signal premature ovarian failure.
Potentially, yes. Diminished ovarian reserve is the primary implication, but it can be an early sign of that too. It really seems like some synthetic chemicals can mess with our hormonal balance and affect these crucial fertility markers.
Are there ways to prevent this or mitigate it?
Well, the article mentions potential measures. Things like trying to minimize exposure to known environmental pollutants, choosing organic products where feasible, managing stress, which can affect hormones too, and keeping up with regular health checkups.
So no magic bullet, but steps you could take.
Exactly. It's about mitigating factors where you can. It's not a guarantee, but it might help lessen the impact of some environmental exposures.
And the broader picture for India.
It could signal wider reproductive health issues, potentially impacting demographics down the line. It really highlights the need for public health awareness and maybe interventions. It's a very stark reminder, really, of how what's out there in the environment can affect us in here biologically. And that's not just an issue in India, it's global.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still in the realm of health and appearance. Helio had something on botulinum toxin A, Botox and its cousins.
Ah, yes, the wrinkle reducer, used very widely for frown lines, crow's feet, but it also has important medical uses too for muscle spasms and things like that.
But this report was more about the cosmetic side.
Primarily, yes. And the key point was that different formulations, different versions of botulinum toxin A can actually give different outcomes. They're not all created equal.
How do they differ?
Things like how quickly they start working the onset of action and how long the effect lasts. Some might kick in faster, others might last a bit longer.
Interesting. Was there a specific one mentioned?
Yeah, a clinical trial called READY1 looked at something called levotulinum toxin A. It's notable because it comes as a ready-to-use liquid, which might simplify things for practitioners.
And how did it perform?
Pretty well. According to the trial, it showed high effectiveness for those globular lines. The frown lines between the eyebrows and patients seemed really satisfied. Good results both early on, like day 7, and still holding up at month 6 compared to placebo.
Are there downsides? Side effects?
Like any injectable treatment, yeah, there can be side effects. Usually they're localized things like a bit of pain, maybe some swelling or bruising at the injection site. Headaches can happen too.
Anything more serious?
Temporary eyelid droop is possible, though less common. And very rarely, the toxin could potentially spread beyond the target muscle, causing broader muscle weakness or issues like difficulty swallowing. But that's considered rare with cosmetic use when done properly.
How does it actually work? What's the science?
It basically works by blocking the release of a chemical messenger, acetylcholine, at the nerve endings. This stops the nerve from telling the muscle to contract, so the muscle relaxes.
And that smooths out wrinkles caused by muscle movement.
Precisely. Dynamic wrinkles. And advancements like these ready-to-use liquid forms aim for easier use, maybe more consistent results, alongside the usual safety evaluations.
So if someone's considering it, how do they choose?
It really comes down to a conversation with their provider. Factors would include, how quickly you want to see results, how long you want them to last, your specific goals, any past reactions, the safety profile, and of course, the experience of the person doing the injections. It's about finding the right fit.
Got it. Okay, last topic. Let's lighten things up a bit with summer beauty. Inspired by a piece in People, but let's look at the science behind it.
Sounds good. Cosmetics have come a long way, haven't they? From ancient ingredients like minerals and plants
To today's really complex synthetic compounds. which brings effectiveness, sure, but also raises questions.
Exactly. Concerns about ingredients like PFAS popping up again or formaldehyde releasers used as preservatives. This has led to different regulatory approaches, like the EU being generally stricter than the US FDA, for instance.
And what about organic cosmetics? They seem really popular.
They are, largely due to perceived safety and environmental benefits. They might sometimes have a shorter shelf life than products with synthetic preservatives, but research is ongoing. It's a trade-off sometimes.
Can synthetic ingredients cause problems, like allergies?
Oh, definitely. Allergic reactions are quite common. Fragrances, certain preservatives, colorants, those are frequent culprits.
So what can people do?
Standard advice: really do a patch test if you have sensitive skin. Look for hypoallergenic products, check ingredient labels, and if you have persistent issues, see a dermatologist.
The industry is using more tech now too, right? I saw something about skincare simulations.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Tools that can visualize how a product might affect your skin, like predicting changes in pore size. It helps formulators develop better products and could eventually help consumers choose too.
And AI again, making personalized recommendations.
Right, analyzing your specific skin type or concerns to suggest routines. The upside is potentially much more effective, tailored skincare.
But the downsides?
Well, data privacy is always a question when AI analyzes personal info, and ensuring the training data for the AI isn't biased is crucial, so it works well for everyone.
There was also an interesting sort of historical angle. Heavy metals in traditional makeup.
Yes, in things like traditional Chinese opera makeup. Historically, some contained heavy metals. Prolonged exposure and maybe incomplete removal could lead to skin problems for the performer.
Is anything being done about that?
Yeah. Technology is trying to help preserve the heritage safely. There are systems being developed, like something called IVIS, specifically designed to help performers ensure thorough makeup removal, protecting their skin health.
Wow. So even our beauty routines are this complex mix of science, history, technology, and regulation.
Absolutely. It all intersects.
We've really covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We really have. From the packaging on our...
The possible chemicals they might contain or that are in our environment.
How those might affect our health markers like AMH.
The science behind cosmetic treatments like botulinum toxin.
And even the ingredients and tech shaping our daily beauty products.
It's been quite the deep dive. Using these sources from the consumers.app news aggregator as our map, it really shows how interconnected everything is. Consumer goods, our health, the environment.
Thanks for joining us and exploring all this.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. And maybe something to ponder. Thinking about how AI is given so good at optimizing something complex but tangible, like textile recycling. How might that same power of analysis, that ability to find patterns in data, eventually transform how we understand and maybe mitigate the subtle long-term health impacts of the countless chemicals we encounter every single day?